Hello there. So in this video, we're going to create these palm trees that we see here, but they're not just any kind of palm tree because they are quite, they're quite easy to control. So let's take a look at one of these here, and we'll select our trunk control here. Oh, I have to turn on my overlays. It's this tree that we have selected, and we have a curve inside here. And you can see that our trunk will just follow around like this. So it's fairly easy to control. We can make it as tall as we want. It will just follow around. You can also see that if we duplicate one of these, let's duplicate the collection and let's select that collection. You can see that the material will also randomize a bit. You can see that we have two different shades, one for the larger leaves and one for the smaller leaves, and they vary between the trees as well. And sometimes they become like more yellowish, and most often they seem to become green or different shades of green. Alright, so let's get into this. So first thing I want to do is to delete everything in my scene, and hit Shift A to create a mesh object, and I want a circle to start with. I'm gonna loop down here to the operator panel and scoot this over to about 8 vertices. If we can get that number, there we go. And then I just want to bring this up in the Z direction, G and Z, and just bring this out just slightly like that. So this is gonna be like the just got grid fill that. This is gonna be one section of the palm tree's trunk. I'm going to add a modifier to this. It's going to be an array modifier, and we don't want the X direction, we want the Z direction here. I'm going to put that to 1 there for now. We're just going to increase this to some number like that. Could be our palm tree. So now we want some control over this, and for that I want to add a curve modifier, but we don't have a curve to add to this yet. So I'm going to Shift A and curve, add a Bezier curve so that we can bend this trunk according to this curve object. So I'm going to hit period on my numpad, Control or Shift Z, just to get into wireframe mode there. And I also want to go into the overlays here and see the normals so that we can see the direction of this curve. So I'm going to take this one that's at the bottom that the arrows are going from. I'm going to make sure that my cursor is centered. I can do that with Shift C, for instance, and then it will kind of center the camera on the entire scene. So, or you can just go Shift S and cursor to bird origin. Now I'm going to go selection to cursor. So now we have that here, and here we have the other one. So I'm just going to bring that up, rotate it around, and kind of change the direction of my viewport just to make sure that that is kind of centered like that. So now we want to have this trunk follow this curve. So I'm going to take the Bezier curve here, and I'm going to deform along the Z axis. So if I go into edit mode for this curve, I can right click and subdivide that into one extrusion into the center there. So now we can kind of play with this, but I want to bring this down here to something around this point here, and then I want to subdivide this. And the reason for this is so that the first one here, the first section down here will stay quite intact. So if I start to move this around, or rather if I move this around, you can see that how we can easily skew this entire thing, like for instance moving this way, and everything, these just become deformed. So we want to avoid that, so that's why we create like a curve that's about the length of the first section there, so that then we can kind of adjust this, and we will still have some deformation, but it's much more manageable, if you will. All right, so that's our curve, and we can make like a small adjustment to this. But we also want to fit the length of this, like the number of these, to the curve. In order to do that, we go into the array modifier on the mesh object, and we fit curve, and we select this same curve. So that way we both follow the curve according to the curve modifier, but we also adjust the length of the trunk according to the curve. You can see that we sometimes run into a little error at the top there, where these, if these are angled the wrong direction. But let's just stick to this for now. So we have our trunk. Now and we have quite good control over it actually with this curve, with just a few handles on the curve. So what we're going to do now is create kind of the crown or the leaves for this palm tree. So I'm just going to right click over here, shift right click actually, to move the tree cursor. And I just want to work in this new area. So let's first kind of create this shape. Make a loop cut around here, pull this in here. I will need some more loop cuts like this, so we can actually shape this. And we could add a couple more here if you wanted to, but I'm gonna stick to a quite low poly design. I'm gonna double tap G here to slide, and then press C to kind of not clamp it, and be able to move that up. And now I'm gonna kind of do this knife tool work here. We're gonna do like this. I'm gonna take from this point here, and then we're gonna do one more. We can do it up here. I'm gonna select those faces and delete faces. There we go. That's gonna be our palm tree leaf. Perhaps a little bit thinner. We'll use some proportional editing here to thin that out. Let's do like a sphere perhaps, or sharp even. Yeah, sharp in this case. So kind of round out that design there. Same deal here. Bring that back a bit. And we can take these and join them so that we get triangles at the bottom here. That's not a problem. So that's our palm tree leaf, and now I want to bend it. So I want to use a lattice for that. I'm just gonna kind of move this over here, encompass the entire thing. And we want to have just a flat lattice, so the W resolution here in the object properties panels for the lattice. So just bring that down, and then we'll want like 3 cuts maybe, and 1 in the middle. Like that. Now we select our leaf, and we add a let's see here, the lattice modifier to that, and we select this lattice that we have. We only have 1 in the scene, so we can take the lattice now, and we can only the lattice, yeah, and we can deform this with using fewer just fewer points here. We can shape this how we like. Perhaps we'll have a bend like that. Okay, something like that. Now I want to make like a circle out of this. We could make our own kind of circle manually, but I'm gonna actually, let's move this so that the Y direction there, so that the origin point is more towards this end here. We can take an array, move that above here. We will offset by object. I'll add this empty here. Let's say like 7. I will take the empty. I'll bring it down here and rotate like so, kind of making that manually there. Let's see how we should probably go to the modifier stack and move that lattice above like that, so it affects each individual leaf rather than the whole set at once. So we can move this a bit like that so that we get the edge here, so it's in front of the mesh here, or we'll get a bend that looks like that. Could be desirable, of course. I'll just make like a classic, like our baseline palm tree kind of. We can then take this entire thing, Shift D, scale it and rotate it like that, and just move it up a bit, like so. We have a pretty good palm tree. From here, I want to add another empty here. I'm going to add it to kind of the center, and then I'm going to parent, Control P, everything to that object. So let's take this shift and just move it to the center here for now. And this, actually, let's see if we can take just the empty here. And Shift S, actually move back the cursor first, and Shift S, selection to 3D cursor. We'll scale that up to fit the tree. And we'll take our empty, and we will add a constraint to that and add follow path. I will take the Bezier curve in the Z direction, I think. Fixed position, follow curve. Let's see if we can have this follow the curve. I'll just move it to the side here. Let's see, we just need the correct negative Y. Let's see here. We'll just move it back to first selection to cursor. I will do that again. Let's select the curve here. Make sure that it's not rotated weirdly. Seems like it is though, so let's see if we can fix this in some way. Just take that empty again. Let's see, these axes, like negative Z, we want Z. There we go. So the Z axis, and then I don't think it matters too much between the X and the Y, it's just a bit of the rotation, but we can't go with the Z. So we'll end up, let's go with the Y. There we go. And we can see that it kind of offsets a bit, like below. But this is kind of the palm tree. We can scale this up and down. We should probably move this. Maybe we can have factor 1.1. No, we can't. Just to bring that like slightly above there. Let's see if we can move this entire tree down a bit in edit mode. Like so. And then we can kind of select this. And we can have our palm tree like this, and it will just adjust according to our settings here. So we can adjust this curve to change the tree, and rotate top here to rotate the tree. We cannot scale that, but we can scale the empty, I think. Yeah, so if we select that, we can scale the size of this. So what if we take, no, actually, let's just keep it at that. So we can scale this empty. We can also rotate it however we like down and throw. We can take the curve and we can call this trunk control, and those are our two control objects. And from here we can create some, we can also take like these, and we could call them like leaf control or something like that. So we can control the leaves, but you know, it doesn't matter too much. Just take maybe, and yeah, whatever. Let's just leave that. It looks good, I think. So let's make some materials now. See how long we're going, by the way, 15 minutes. So let's just make a quick material. And we want to have this kind of adjust a bit as well. So let's go into shading tab here. And we can start with the trunk. Actually, let's go back to layout here and just see if we can kind of shift deduplicate this. Oh, that's a problem. So you can't really. We have to take, let's see here. Let's take the crown control object here and see if we can lock the location or the rotation or the scale. Delete that, and if we shift D, yeah. So if you lock the location there, it won't kind of, when you move it twice. So that needs to be locked on that object. All right. So now we can create as many palm trees as we want, and we can take the actually let's if we take this and we make, let's duplicate that and create a new collection on tree. Yeah, so that is our palm tree. Let's call this mesh, or just a trunk mesh, so that we keep track of our objects. There we go. We have some unnamed things there, but that's fine. And if we now just go in and say we want an instance collection, we can do that, but then we can't control that with the control object. So that's a bummer, but we can duplicate collection and have another full palm tree here. Select that, and we can control these individually, like so. All right. Material. Let's get to the shading here. I'll press new when the trunk is selected. I will just go with a brown color, like so. And then we're gonna go with object info. I'm gonna take a color ramp. It's gonna be a very simple low poly material with a like flat shading. So we go with random into this color ramp, and we can have a brown material here. Let's make like something like this. Let's create something more saturated, like this. So we can have those two colors that we randomly pick, or in between the mix here. We'll do the same for the these and these. Let's make one first here and then just duplicate the material. So we want to have like a green leaf, kind of light, but maybe a little bit darker, something like that. We can do object info, and we can have a color ramp doing the exact same thing. Just connect the color to the base color, random to the color ramp here. We're gonna bring these closer to each other. We're also gonna add one in the middle there. So let's take this one, and we want to have like a green on this side. We want to have something more of a yellow. And we can have something, I don't know, very green in the middle, something like that. I can do. We take this material, Control L, and link that, Control L, link materials like that. So those two will differ from each other. So the small ones will have the same, and the larger one will have the same. But when we duplicate this, we get something different. Okay. All right, thanks for viewing, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you. Bye.